Alabama a little bit dangerously. So I would love to see Alabama play like a Wake Forest because they're coming off a really good year, and Sam Hartman's probably going to be a pretty high draft pick, I think. So I would love to see them play Wake Forest. I think that'd be a good game.
I love that. Or like and this isn't even in the same stratosphere really, but like an App State, who a team that is worth their salt. A Jackson State.
That would be like must-see TV. Like, I'd pay money to watch that.
Yeah, I would pay money.
Jackson
to see
State wouldn't win because they just don't have the SEC
depth.
players, but they would shock them a little bit. Like
I agree with that. I would like to see Jackson State and these other HBCUs. I can't remember who it was. Oh, it's blanking on me. But he put forth the proposition once Nick Saban opened up his mouth about the Jimbo Fisher, Miami, and then included Jackson State into that. They had brought up, well, I think your apology should include that once a year you play an HBCU team, and I think it was like $1 million or $2 million. They got to get their payday. They got to get their payday. But I think, that's great. I know people want to get rid of these cupcakes and stuff, but that's just not good for the game of football. If you love football,
small colleges survive off of it. I mean, when we were at Waldorf, we survived off that game we played at Stetson for 3 years.
3 years.
3 years,
man.
literally. And now, actually, Waldorf this coming season, they're playing another money game. They're going to go play the defending national champs in Division II, Ferris State.
Yeah.
We survive off those money games. I mean, that's what we need. And same thing with FCS schools. They survive off of Division I schools giving them money and giving them airtime because it helps them with recruiting too. But
yeah, exactly. I mean, so not only do we have NAIA with the Division II, with the FCS, but the HBCUs wherever they fall in their divisions as well. I mean, that's let's help those guys out as well and create a good rapport with them, and it helps their recruiting as well. The more good football players, or the more room that we have for football players, the better the game is. Let's move on to Ole Miss, though. SDS, Saturday Down South, has Ole Miss and USC, which that would be a great one, right? You got the transfer of Jackson Dart. Then you bring in the running back from TCU, Zach Evans, I believe. So they've got USC and Ole Miss. I would go with a team like Oregon, just because they had the better year last year. I know that there's a lot of hype surrounding USC, but 4-8, I don't know how much Lincoln Riley and the gang is going to change that next year. But then again, the conference that they're playing in, anything is possible in the Pac-12, right? To be able to go from worst to first type deal. But I would like to see them go up against Oregon because USC or Oregon, either way, right? But you're getting a fast-paced team, which is exactly what you're going to get out of Ole Miss. So, which direction would you go?
I actually agree with Oregon. I liked Oregon too. I mean, there's not many Pac-12 teams that are ready to play top-level SEC teams, and not that Ole Miss is a top-level SEC team, but they're definitely not at the bottom of it.
Mm-hmm.
So that I think that Oregon would be a good matchup, and then USC is a wild card. I mean, we haven't seen what they have yet. They got a lot of transfers, not a lot of new faces. I'm guessing they'll be similar to Oklahoma, how Oklahoma was last season, but I mean, again, it's USC. You really never know.
No doubt. I'm getting some text in from your dad. He says, when I was at Savannah State, Akron and Colorado State paid us. We got killed by Colorado State, but almost beat Akron when they had Terry Bowden as the head coach there. And when he was at Winona State, Western Illinois paid them, and they beat them. That's got to be a good feeling as a college athlete, right? Or as a football player, rather, when you are the guys getting paid and you come out on top. Because, go back to your story with Stetson. Y'all were going up, or y'all were taking on Stetson, getting paid. And you were telling me, I believe we were talking about this off the air, but the tight end there in
Donald Parham. Yeah, we going into the game, you kind of know, they're paying us a lot of money.
Yeah.
We don't really have a realistic chance, but it's fun because you get to go out there, you really don't worry about it. I mean, if we lose the game, we're still walking out with a good payday, and you're going to try to win the game. Don't get me wrong, but
that's a football player duty.
After the game, Stetson's defensive coordinator was actually talking to my dad because they knew each other, and he was mentioning how he was worried for his job because he gave up. We scored 35 on him, and the fact that they paid us money, we scored 35 on him. He was a little nervous, hey, we might be in trouble here. This is an NAIA school that just came into Division I and put up 35 on us. It wasn't. They still beat us 62-35. But the second half we were bombing it on them, and the defensive coordinator really told my dad, I might have just lost my job tonight. So I mean, it's kind of
That's
funny knowing that.
wild.
And then a lot of times, like whenever you see those big schools lose to, like an FCS school, you can guarantee that that staff is probably going to get fired, or somebody on that staff is getting
Yeah,
fired, because it shouldn't happen.
right.
The difference in scholarships, just bottom line, it shouldn't happen.
Just that, and a lot of people don't really understand what you're talking about. I think that they get the gist of it but it's the number of scholarships.
Yeah.
And you explained it last week when you were on, the difference in the levels and how many scholarships that you got. When you're able to put out 85 guys that are under a scholarship, that are, they don't have to worry about working to, you know what I mean,
No.
get fed and all of that stuff. Now you do have your walk-ons, your preferred
Yeah,
walk-ons,
but those guys aren't the ones who are playing usually.
exactly. So they have less to focus on. Well, I guess being a part of a football team, regardless, you got a lot to focus on and
Yeah.
a lot that goes on throughout the week. But yeah, that is the main reason why these guys are getting the $1 million paydays, and that's paying for their basketball, volleyball, rowing program, and all of those good things. So if you like sports, you have to like these cupcake games. We'll continue to go down that road. What about for a school like Mississippi State? Saturday Down South has them going up against Oklahoma State. I think that would be a great hypothetical matchup. Where are you at with Mississippi State?
So Mike Leach came from Washington State. Now Washington State definitely not winning that game.
Yeah.
But I would just love to see Mike Leach go back there, and
Yeah.
I would want to see Mississippi State be the away team.
Mhm.
Go back to Washington State and play in Pullman and just watch.
Yeah.
I'm sure it'd be I'm assuming Mississippi State would win that game by 20, 30 points. But I just feel like it would be really, really interesting. And Washington State would probably play a little bit tougher, because there was a little bit of like bitterness when he left,
Yeah.
because of the way he left. He was so sudden and abrupt.
Mm-hmm.
So I feel like that would be entertaining to watch.
I'm right there with you, man. I wouldn't have it any other way. If I get to choose who Mississippi State's playing, and I love what you said, too, about going back to Washington State, because that ups the ante a little bit. I'm right there with you. Washington State, Mississippi State, get that matchup done, get it done quick
Yeah.
while Mike Leach is still, because if this matchup happens, if they go in to schedule it and it's 2029, who's to say Mike Leach will even still be coaching in general at that point in time, but much less with Mississippi State and the Bulldogs there. Let's get that matchup done. What about a team like Florida? Now, Saturday Down South has a kind of common rival for them in Miami, which, they don't play all the time, but they still get some good games in. Who would you like to see Florida play?
I do enjoy watching Florida play Miami, because the schools are so close to each other.
Right.
That's always a good game. But I like to see Florida. They don't really usually play Big Ten teams, but I do like to watch them play Big Ten teams. And I would like to see Florida play like an Iowa. I feel like that would be really. Iowa's a good Big Ten team, and they play football so differently than Florida that I feel like it would be interesting to see like Iowa, because Iowa plays kind of old school football.
They play like football.
They play football, running down the middle,
Yeah.
And it would be fun to kind of see Florida kind of slinging around a little bit.
Yeah.
And see Iowa sit there and just pound it. I mean,
Yeah.
I think it'd be a good
I
game.
love those polar opposite types of football games, because you don't get a true answer on which blueprint, which playbook works better, which style of football works better, but you still get to see the contrast of how both of them work differently, and will the speedy defense or the slow and methodical offense come out on top. Always love things like that. For me, Florida, I would go one of two ways. I wouldn't mind seeing them, because they are a top tier, maybe second tier SEC team in Florida, right? But Oklahoma State was one of the cream of crop teams from the Big 12 last year, or with their new coach, Billy Napier, where he came from. Why don't we just talked about Mike Leach in Washington State, Billy Napier taking on Louisiana. And at this point in time, in the infantile stages of the Florida program, they can't be that much better, depending on what Louisiana lost, than Louisiana last year, who had close to, if I'm not mistaken, close to an undefeated season last year.
Yeah, they lost one game.
Yeah.
I would love to see him play Louisiana. I mean, that would be a good game. And it'd be a little special for Billy Napier, too. So
yeah.
I think that would be.
Oh, man, that would be good stuff. Let's move on to LSU here. Saturday Down South has them against Oregon. No arguments there. I can't recall ever seeing LSU take on Michigan, so I would like to see an LSU-Michigan game. Both kind of, I don't know what the Brian Kelly era is going to bring to the offense and defense of LSU. Like, are they going to change it up, or is it going to be still kind of how it was? But Michigan, kind of like Iowa, in a sense, more closer to traditional than all the way spread out. So I would go with LSU and Michigan.
I mean, I could say the easy thing here and kind of go the same way that I went with Leach and say,
Yeah.
I'd love to see him play Notre Dame.
Notre Dame.
But
Oh, yeah.
I mean, I would love to see that.
Yeah,
I mean,
for
I'm not
sure.
gonna lie.
For sure.
But
Notre Dame didn't even make it on my list somehow.
Yeah, just for the sake of saying another team, because that would just be an easy one to say. I'd probably like to see him play a Big Ten team as well. I could see him. I'd like to see him play like a Minnesota or Michigan's a good one too. I think outside of Michigan though, I mean the only team that I think would be
fun too.
comparable to them, like ability wise,
Right.
I mean Michigan State's close. So that probably wouldn't be a bad game either.
I wonder how big the drop off is going to be, like for Michigan State without Kenneth Walker, because I felt like he was a huge part of their offense last year. Right, he carried them to that record, and Mel Tucker's got to get a lot of that credit.
Yeah.
No doubt about it. The head coach should always get some of the credit, right? He's putting these game plans together and all that stuff, but at the end of the day, like you just said, he put them on his back and was carrying them.
Yeah, I mean, without him, I'm sure they got some some big time running back recruits, because whenever you see a running back go for the amount of yards that he went for, as a recruit, you're going to go, oh, well, they use running backs a lot. And he got drafted. That might be a good place for me to go, because, I mean, running backs are slowly getting, trickled out of the game and are being considered a dime a dozen, which in my opinion they kind of are. But I could see them maybe replacing him with a good running back. I don't know the recruiting situation, but I wouldn't think it'd be a big drop off.
We got another segment of this keeping on rolling. We got Missouri, South Carolina, A&M, Vandy, Auburn, Arkansas, Georgia, Kentucky, and Tennessee. 850-215-6290, or hit us up on Facebook. Leave your comments. We'll read them out on the air. 850-215-6290 for the text, or call in. We're still playing trivia, y'all.
104.3 ESPN Northwest Florida. This is Braves country.
This one's going supersonic.
The Atlanta Braves walk-off win last night was epic, and tonight will send Spencer Strider to the mound with a 2.45 ERA and a 3-2 record, taking on the San Francisco Giants. Coverage starts at 6, right after the Afternoon Underdogs on your home for the Atlanta Braves on the Gulf Coast. It's 102.1 and 104.3 ESPN Northwest Florida.
Weather forecast for this afternoon, partly to mostly sunny in the low 90s. We'll have a south wind about 10 to 15. Water temperature in the Gulf is 86. Mostly clear skies in the mid to upper 70s tonight. Sunny and hot in the mid to upper 90s on Wednesday and Thursday as well. This weather forecast has been brought to you by KHS and Associates, your source for affordable health insurance. For 104.3 and 102.1 ESPN Northwest Florida, I'm meteorologist Tim Root.
Golf Plus is your premier golf shop on the Gulf Coast. Not a big box or a chain store, but a local store with golf experts to serve you. An amazing array of demo and fitting products, plus a professional repair shop that can handle anything from a basic re-grip to a full set of re-shafts and everything in between. Golf Plus has locations in Dothan and Panama City Beach to serve you. Come see them today for all your golf needs. Located next to Firefly at the Shops at Edgewater. Call 850-249-2726.
For love of food, love of country, American Charlie Grill and Tavern is a new all-American eatery at the Shops at Edgewater. From the local team that brought you Firefly, On the Fly, and more. Classic dishes that have become staples of our country for over a century. American Charlie Grill and Tavern is open Monday through Saturday at 11 a.m. Daily happy hour from 2 till 6. $2 off all liquor, beer, and wine. Lots of TVs make it a great spot to watch all sports. Hope to see you soon at American Charlie Grill and Tavern.
Did you know that fees associated with real estate closings are virtually the same from one title company to the next? So what sets South Oak Title apart? Effective communication, customer service, expertise, and technology. If you're buying or selling real estate, refinancing a residential or commercial property, tell your realtor you want to close with South Oak Title. South Oak Title, with locations across the Southeast, including Panama City Beach, Inlet Beach, Destin, and Fort Walton Beach. Visit them online at southoaktitle.com.
From Mariana to Panama City, from Southport to Laguna Beach, this is the Panhandle's home for live and local sports coverage. Now back to the Afternoon Underdogs, live from the Rib Crib Radio Room. ESPN Northwest Florida.
Let's keep it rolling with what we got going in the SEC hypothetical matchups, y'all. 104.3, 102.1 FM. That's ESPN Northwest Florida. We're presenting the 4th of July salute to freedom. Lots of fun for kids, live music, and a parade that's brought to you by Destination PC, the city of Panama City, and 104.3 ESPN Northwest Florida. Quick reminder, Braves, like I mentioned earlier at the beginning of the show, got the win on a walk-off by Orlando Arcia last night. Spencer Strider on the hill for the Bravos tonight. Coverage starts at 6 o'clock. First pitch, 6:20. We left off with LSU. Let's get into Missouri. We're doing SEC hypothetical matchups here. This was a post by Saturday Down South. So Saturday Down South would like to see Missouri take on Nebraska. Now, I'm going to go with the team that you mentioned for Alabama, and I loved your the way that you got into your point with Alabama and having them not taking on a perennial conference champion because their back's not against the wall. And then they could play in a deadly way to themselves by trying to execute too much.
Yeah.
So that's a great point. And you brought up Wake Forest. I would like to see, and a lot of this had to do with the similarities in their uniform colors. But Sam Hartman had a great year last year. They're poised to maybe make another run at the ACC this year. Let's see how Missouri does, who's a middle-of-the-pack SEC team taking on a top-tier ACC team at this point in time. At this juncture, the way we think of Wake Forest is could be one of the better ones in the ACC, which is odd to say out loud, but Missouri-Wake Forest, I wouldn't mind seeing that matchup.
Yeah, that's actually a really good one too. I think Missouri hasn't been as good recently as I feel like they could be. I feel like the last couple of years have probably been a little disappointing for Missouri fans. But seeing Missouri play Wake Forest would be a great one. But I personally would love to see Missouri play a Pac-12 team, kind of get out of the Midwest and go west. So I would like to see them play USC. I feel like that would be a good one because I feel like USC probably wins that game. But it kind of shows you that would be a good test for USC to kind of be like, all right,
where are they?
Like, because you can kind of gauge them off that. So yeah.
Yeah, Missouri USC would be good because it almost uses the opposite of psychology and what you know what I mean, for the SEC, but in this case for the Pac-12 where, yeah, USC isn't at the top of the Pac-12 in terms of record from last year, but they're poised at this point in time. It seems like they're going to be one of the better ones coming into the Pac-12. So you take a middle-of-the-pack SEC team, and that gauges where USC is. I love that answer. For South Carolina, Saturday Down South went with North Carolina State. I almost went Oklahoma here just for the Spencer Rattler revisit Oklahoma, see how that all works out. But I ended up going with App State there just because a lot of people, remember App State for some of the big upsets that they've had, namely the one against Michigan. But I think that would actually be more of an evenly matched, maybe even App State gets the dub there against South Carolina.
Oh, yeah. I mean, that would be a good one. App State is a smaller school, obviously, but they are on the come up, and they had a really good year last year. I would like to see South Carolina. I went with Oklahoma.
Yeah, good.
I feel like Spencer Rattler would light their defense up because Big 12 defenses historically haven't really been.
Is it going to change with Brent Venables being the head coach?
It has to be. It really doesn't. They don't have a choice. Because if you're going to the SEC, you have to play defense.
Yeah.
I mean, you can't. It's not like the Big 12 where you can just have a shootout and then somebody wins in overtime. Like you have to play defense in the SEC. So that's probably why they brought him in.
That's such a good point. Yeah. You can't just have a shootout and then hopefully win that thing in overtime.
Yeah.
You got to play defense. Man, South Carolina and Oklahoma, could you imagine if that was like a week one type game, open up the season with that? I mean, game day would even have the possibility of going there. And I don't think it outshines the Notre Dame-Ohio State game at this point in time just because of where South Carolina's at.
Is that where they're going?
I believe, yeah. They're going to be Notre Dame, Ohio State for the first big week of the college football season. I think that'll be the first week that game day's out there. So that but South Carolina, Oklahoma would definitely turn some heads. Let's go to Texas A&M. Saturday down south has them taking on Baylor. No doubt that would be a great matchup. I went for you used Michigan State earlier. I can't remember if it was Florida or LSU. I think maybe that you went.
I believe it was for Florida.
So Florida, Michigan State. I love that one there. Texas A&M to me. It's a big prove it year, especially after all of the turmoil that we've had in this offseason. Michigan State is Mel Tucker, worth that money that they're going to be giving him. And so to go up against Texas A&M, a team who's spending a lot of money, not getting into any of the details and all of that stuff, but Texas A&M, Michigan State, I think that could also turn some heads.
Yeah, I like that pick too. I would like to see Texas A&M play a Big Ten school as well. I feel like of all the SEC teams, I could see Texas A&M fitting in with like a top Big Ten team. But I would like to see Texas A&M play like an Iowa or Minnesota or Michigan State too. I mean, either one of those are kind of all similar ability-wise. Iowa's probably a little bit better than Michigan, obviously above them. But I like to see any one of those four. I'd like to see them play.
We got a couple of texts here. Professor Plum says LSU, Notre Dame. He also says Vanderbilt versus Northwestern. Brains versus brains. So hey, that's not a bad name for a bowl, Professor Plum. We've also, there's so many texts on Facebook. Caveman Rick, A&M should play Penn State or Wisconsin. He said, I'd rather see Alabama have to go to Iowa. Good luck in Ames, buddy. Hey, why not? I think, majority of the time, even though it's not going to happen like that, it wouldn't be bad to see Alabama on the road in some of these premier locations, especially a place like Iowa with the third quarter or the end of the third quarter tradition and waving to the Children's Hospital. Moving on to Vanderbilt, let's talk about them real quick. Saturday down south, put them up against the Minutemen of UMass. I wonder if that was a joke or someone was just like, hey, maybe it's a close game because it's Vanderbilt we're talking about. I, however, would like to see the Jeff Brom-led Purdue Boilermakers. I think it was another one that kind of came down to the color scheme and not necessarily where they're at in their individual conferences. I think Purdue would wax Vanderbilt, but it could be a good game because who knows what happens when you take that field.
Yeah, that's actually I think it's hilarious they put you. It was probably definitely a joke. I mean, Vanderbilt obviously always gets flack for being the worst team in the SEC because they just don't win. I think that's hilarious to have them play UMass, but Vanderbilt needs to play like a group of five school. Like I'd like to see Vanderbilt play like Western Kentucky or something. Like somebody who can sling it around a little bit, maybe be exciting to watch, and then give one of these small schools a chance to beat an SEC team.
Yeah, I like that. I like that answer a lot. Caveman Rick says, no offense, Dave, but that's kind of messed up to say that it would be almost wrong for Alabama to say to have to go to Iowa. I was just saying, I was reading off your comment, buddy. I said nothing other than I think it would be good for Alabama to go to these places that are premier locations. What I was saying I don't think it would happen is because of the way that Alabama is. It's either going to be neutral. It's going to be a neutral location, Jerry's World or the Mercedes-Benz Dome, or they're going to play at Bryant-Denny. I mean, that's just how it's going to work out. You know what I mean? There was nothing against Iowa. I would love to see Alabama playing in in premier locations in the college football world. Moving on to Auburn, Saturday down south with Wisconsin. Yeah, sure, Auburn, Wisconsin. Those are kind of brand versus brand, right? Of the same type when we were talking about Iowa, the kind of brand of football that Iowa plays. Pretty similar to what Wisconsin does. I would change it up a little bit and have more of a aerial attack type deal and what Minnesota brings. Minnesota, Auburn, I think that you could get some fireworks from that game.
Oh yeah, that's a good point. I really like the Auburn-Wisconsin matchup because Auburn historically has been a running team. Wisconsin obviously is historically a running team. They pump out running backs. So I think I would love to see two hard-nosed football teams just pound it and play old school football. So.
Arkansas, man. Sam Pittman with a well-deserved extension there. Love what he's doing with the program. Saturday down south has a good one here. Arkansas, Michigan State. I would like to see to kind of gauge where Oklahoma is. I think Arkansas, Oklahoma could be a very a defining matchup for the landscape of college football.
Yeah, no, that's a really good one too. Arkansas and Oklahoma would be a great one. I like Arkansas. I think they're on the upswing, obviously. I would like to see Arkansas play a Pac-12 school and kind of see how they can, handle the passing game of the West Coast, because I mean all those teams throw it. So I would like to see like Arkansas play like an Oregon, or obviously USC, but
UCLA maybe.
UCLA, yeah, but they're not great.
Yeah.
So I mean that's kind of a toss up.
How about a Utah?
Utah would be fun to watch. Yeah. That'd be a good one,
Arkansas
too.
and Utah could be really good because Utah's like Birdman. People need to put respect on their name.
Yeah,
you
they're
know
good.
what I mean?
They're good.
They are a really good program, and they've proved it time and time again. Georgia here. Let's get into our last three teams. We've got Georgia, Kentucky, Tennessee. Georgia, speaking of Utah, Saturday Down South had Georgia and Utah. They also had Ohio State, Alabama. I think Georgia, Ohio State, man. Start the year off with that, or give me that in the middle of the year.
Oh, yeah.
I know that would never happen in the middle of the year, but Georgia, Ohio State, come on, man.
Oh yeah.
Georgia, whew, Ohio State
I've got
too,
two.
but great
One of
programs.
these is a funny one, and the other one's a real answer. The funny one is come play McPherson, because we're the same mascot and same colors.
There we go.
So
Yeah.
Battle of the Bulldogs, and we'll take some money too. So come pay us a couple mil.
Yeah,
we'll play.
Putting a little close up on your shirt right now
Oh,
because that thing is fire.
Oh yeah. So yeah, we'll play them. I mean, we're not scared. But the serious answer, I actually really like the fact that they're playing Oregon this year. That would be my dream matchup, because obviously the defensive coordinator left and went there.
Dan Lanning.
So
yeah.
I like that matchup.
I love that matchup. I think a lot of people are really stoked about this Ohio State Notre Dame for good reason. Marcus Freeman graduated from Ohio State. Now he's the head coach at Notre Dame. So there's those storylines right there.
Yeah.
But when it comes to that Georgia-Oregon game, Georgia lost 15 guys to the NFL. They lost their defensive coordinator. Their defense was their bread and butter. It wasn't the mailman who got the job done at the end of the day for y'all. It was that vaunted defense. So how do they look? Is Kirby Smart on that precipice of where, people have been putting them up there with Nick Saban? Do they reload? You know what I mean? Do they just come in looking like the same Georgia of last year? I think that is a great possibility. And so that's why I'm so excited about this Georgia and Oregon game. I think it's going to be the best one of the weekend, or Georgia could absolutely go in there and blow them out, because what offense is Oregon going to come with?
I mean, you have no idea.
Yeah.
I mean, you really don't.
You never know.
Oregon's
until it
kind
happens.
of a question mark every season. Like they have big names, but I mean, sometimes the big names don't play out. So I mean, that'll be a really fun. I'm watching that game week 1. That's for sure.
No doubt about it. Let's move to Kentucky. Saturday Down South with a good one here. I like this one, Kentucky and Penn State. However, I think Kentucky is making moves. I don't know how long they'll be able to sustain these moves as Tennessee starts moving up in the SEC. Obviously, that's going to push Kentucky down a little bit. If Florida has the success that people expect them to have in year 1 of the Billy Napier era with the Florida Gators, then that could possibly push Kentucky down. But until it's proven otherwise, Kentucky, the last couple of years have been decent. I think they were 10-3 last year. So why not take a team like Iowa, where they're both kind of hard-nosed teams here? Kentucky, Iowa wouldn't be the worst matchup.
No, that's a good one too. I actually was going to go with Iowa State, because I love the head coach for Iowa State. I think he's really, really cool.
Matt Campbell?
Matt Campbell, yeah.
Yeah.
And plus,
I love that matchup better, though, to be honest with you.
Iowa
Kentucky,
State.
Iowa State, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, Iowa State's a little bit more of a. I mean, they play different football, completely different than Iowa. I mean, they're same state, but like you couldn't be different as far as programs. Like
Right.
they are complete polar opposites.
Big 12, Big 10. I
Yeah,
think that
Iowa
helps
State
too.
slings it. So I would love to see Iowa State kind of go to Kentucky and play in an SEC environment and slinging around with Kentucky, because Kentucky's got Will Levis, and Will Levis is a really good quarterback too, I think so.
Iowa State is one of those teams that when you expect them to win, they lose. And when
Yeah.
you don't expect them to have a dogfight in the game,
Play great.
Yeah, they play great and sometimes win it. Let's move on here to our final one, Tennessee. Saturday Down South has them playing Texas. I would not be opposed to that in any manner or fashion. But I think where both of these programs are, the one I'm about to mention, Tennessee, Florida State, they're both kind of in that same dwindling area right now. Well, not dwindling because they're actually, it seems to be trending in the correct direction now. But Tennessee FSU, I've never seen that game. Outside, wait, they played in a national championship against each other in '99. No, that was Virginia Tech. So Tennessee, Florida State, though, I believe that would be a lot of fun.
Tennessee was kind of a hard one for me to choose. I see why they put Texas, because Texas is coming in the SEC, and Tennessee would be a good level to see okay, where are they at? But I would like to see Tennessee play like an Oklahoma State, because Oklahoma State, they're dangerous, and plus I like the orange, just seeing those two oranges on the field. I mean, completely different
Puke
oranges.
orange and then a good looking orange.
That neon orange, I guess, is what Oklahoma State has.
Yeah,
I think that'd be cool to see just on a field together.
I like that one. I don't like the other one though that we're talking about in Tennessee. I don't like that orange.
Yeah.
Oh man, but I love that matchup though. Tennessee, Oklahoma State. That just you talk about fireworks, and that could absolutely provide them. I want to see them play in Neyland Stadium, though, so that if things don't go the Volunteers' way, the crowd can volunteer to continue to throw trash onto the field. Oh, my gosh, that's ridiculous. We got to get to a break. You're riding with the Afternoon Underdogs. It's David Hayes, Austin Siegel. We're going to keep it rolling with some breakout or fake outs in the world of the NFL.
104.3 ESPN Northwest Florida is your radio home for live and local sports coverage. For the most high school and college sports from right here in our local area, it's the Coach James Hale Show, weekday mornings 7 till 9. Then the ride home is alive and kicking with the Afternoon Underdogs, covering the gamut of sports. Plus, the radio home for the defending world champion Atlanta Braves. Your local sports station is ESPN Northwest Florida.
Earthworks of Northwest Florida knows it's a perfect time for you to update your home. Whether it's routine touch-ups or a new look, Earthworks has just what you need. Sand, stone, mulch, and gravel, pickup or delivery. Visit earthworks.com and request a quote. Discover your dream landscape with Earthworks of Northwest Florida. Love the land you live on. Earthworks of Northwest Florida, 2005 Industrial Drive.
Hi, I'm Bobby Likos with today's Car Clinic Minute. Doing things the old-fashioned way may be great for churning ice cream, but not for churning up the racetrack. When we come back, we'll crank up the power.
The Car Clinic Minute.
It's Bobby Likos Car Clinic, brought to you locally by Hewitt Tire and Auto.
Call 850-769-7323.
Your certified AAA service center and hometown towing.
Visit them online at HewittTire.com.
On Airport Road in Panama City.
That's 850-769-7323. Hewitt Tire and Auto Center and hometown towing.
Churning ice cream may be a treat, but steering the old-fashioned way on the racetrack is no fun in the sun. Before Jeffrey Bodine engineered power steering on race cars in 1987, all that horsepower had to be guided by sheer muscle power. And cars on the oval track weren't the only thing that suffered wear and tear. Just ask the drivers. In the Daytona 500, drivers raced 4 hours in 120 degrees, losing up to 10 pounds of body weight. Power steering reduces driver fatigue and conserves the energy necessary to charge the finish line and enjoy a good old-fashioned victory lap. I'm Bobby Likos. Like us, you'll love us.
Now back to the most dangerous afternoon show on terrestrial radio.
Danger's my middle name.
It's illegal in 5 states. The Afternoon Underdogs, inside the Rib Crib Radio Room. 104.3 ESPN Northwest Florida.
You're riding with the Afternoon Underdogs. We've got Austin Siegel in the building. I'm David Hayes. This is Breakout or Fake Out. We're going to take some NFL players here and see if we think they're going to break out in 2022 or it was last year a little bit of a fake out on us. Joe Burrow is who we're going to start off with, quarterback for the Bengals. His stats from last year, 4,611 yards passing with 34 tutties, 14 interceptions, a completion rate that's just insane, 70.4 with a passer rating of 108.3. This guy's breaking out again, right? I mean,
I wouldn't even call it a breakout. I would just call it continuing because he had a really good year. The interceptions number will definitely drop. I think he's getting smarter, and like you can kind of see just as the season went on, like he made a lot better decisions with the football, even like to that point, all the way up to the Super Bowl. He was making better and better and better decisions. So I think that he'll, and plus they helped out with the O-line and stuff, and I think they did good in the offseason, the Bengals did. So I think that I wouldn't call it a breakout, but he's going to continue to do what he's been doing.
Yeah, this article is from The Score today, and when I was reading it, it kind of it's more or less for 2022 because all of these guys on the list, when you look at them, last year it was a breakout year for them, or they've done it multiple times before. You talk about Jonathan Taylor, Cooper Kupp's on this list. So we're just kind of seeing how we feel about 2022. Jonathan Taylor, the running back for the Colts, 332 carries, 1,800 yards, 18 touchdowns, 40 catches, 360 yards, 2 touchdowns. That's what I find him to be the most dangerous. I don't see him slowing down anytime soon. He did this at the collegiate level. He's going to continue it here. The Colts have one of the best offensive lines in all of football. I think Jonathan Taylor is a safe bet for being a top 3 running back, if not top 2, especially when you add in the receiving. Number 1.
He really was a surprise. I thought he was going to be a average NFL running back. I mean, like he's serviceable. I can put him in a game. He'll get you 60, 70 yards a game, Nothing. I didn't think he was special in any way. But then as I watched him play last season, I was like, wow, like he was, he's just, there really isn't anything special about him. He just makes plays and he runs the football hard. And like as a running back, he was, he wasn't very injury prone either. He's stable. You can count on him on a game day. He'll play the whole game, and he'll be consistent every week. I think that he'll again get an even better step forward because the Colts have a good old line, and they've got Matt Ryan now too to kind of help manage games, and I think that Matt Ryan helps him get more carries and improve.
That's crazy, man. To think of how close he was to 2,000 yards last year. And then when you add in the receiving, well over it, and 20 touchdowns all combined, just nasty. Rashad Penny, running back for the Seahawks, his stats last year, only 119 carries for 749 yards with 6 touchdowns, 6 catches for 48 yards. He's going to have to be, if he can stay healthy. You talk about a guy who can stay healthy in Jonathan Taylor. I think we've got the opposite here with Rashad Penny. What are you thinking, breakout or fake out for 2022?
Yeah, he was. He had a nice year. I think 749 yards is a nice year. He was okay. Injuries were killing him though. He absolutely would have had a better year had he not been injured, and that also hurt the Seahawks. Losing the amount of. They had a lot of injuries this year. That's what riddled them, and that's probably why Russell Wilson wanted to leave.
Yeah, he's like,
I'm not going to waste my career here.
Yeah, but Denver, their wide receiving core can't stay healthy.
That's true too, but I personally, I can see why Denver's defense is in a lot better position than Seahawks are.
1,000%.
So he has help around him, even if the receivers get hurt. But I think Rashad Penny, obviously barring that he stays healthy, I think he'll have a better year.
I think that he'll have a better year statistically, but it will go unnoticed because he's really it over there. You know what I mean? Do we really expect Drew Lock and Geno Smith to be able to lead them in enough of attack that it puts enough wins in the win-loss column to suffice? You know what I mean? I think that the Seahawks are going to be one of those teams that no one really pays attention to unless they're playing your team. Cordell Patterson, running back with the Falcons, running back wide receiver with the Falcons. Dude was doing everything last year, but now it's not Matt Ryan. It's going to be Marcus Mariota or possibly Desmond Ridder or Felipe Franks. 153 carries, 618 yards on the ground with 6 touchdowns, 52 catches, 548 yards, and 5 touchdowns via the air. What do you think about Cordell Patterson? Can he repeat last year?
Oh, well, just quick thing about Felipe Franks. I've actually been seeing that he's been taking reps at tight end.
Really?
Yeah, he's a big guy.
Yeah,
he's like 6'7", 240. He's a big dude. They've been realizing. I think he realizes that he's kind of on the outside looking in at quarterback, and he wants to do anything he possibly can to stay on the roster.
Love that.
So he's been taking reps at tight end, and I, from what I've been reading, is he doesn't look bad. Like, he actually looks like, hey, it's not like a Tim Tebow type deal. Like,
right.
He actually looks like, hey, like this guy could really play. I mean, he's 6'7". I mean, that's nice. I mean,
just toss it up to the back of the end zone,
so
see what happens.
He could be like a third string tight end or a second string tight end type thing for them, and a quarterback.
That's what, and if he gets better, it adds that wrinkle that a lot of teams can't sit there and say they have. You know what I mean? You had the Antoine Randall, you had Matt Jones, you had some of these guys who were college quarterbacks and then come to the league, get transferred into a wide receiver. And
it helps the roster out too.
It helps the roster out. It helps the trick play out. If your offensive coordinator is a guy who likes to get the trickery involved in some of the games, so yeah, why not? I mean, how much do you trust Felipe Frank's arm? But
not much, but
I mean, how much do you trust OBJ to just take a wide receiver handoff and just throw that thing up to the top of the dome, basically?
It's a hope and a prayer. But yeah, I back to what's his name? Cordell, yeah. I was blanking. Back to Cordell Patterson. I think that he's gonna continue. I mean, I was so sad the day the Bears let him go. Like,
yeah.
I loved when he played because he brought us. He's every play he touches the ball, something exciting happens.
Yeah.
Like, you could feel it. Like, whenever he'd get a handoff, he would just hit the line full speed, and like everybody's breath would kind of like hold. Like, oh, where's he going? Like,
yeah.
I mean,
where's he going?
Kick returns too. Like, every time he's taking it to the 50 or to the 40, or I mean, obviously he takes it to the house too regularly.
Yeah.
So I mean, I don't know why any team would let him go. I'd pay him any money he wants because he's just exciting to watch. He puts people in the stands,
and he's versatile.
And he's a good guy too. Like, just I see him on like interacting with like fans and stuff all the time. He's a really good person. I like Cordell Patterson a lot, and I think he'll continue to play better.
Cooper Kupp, we don't got to spend time on 140 catches, 1,900 yards, 16 touchdowns, breakout. That's easy money.
He's getting the ball.
Yeah, he's getting the ball a lot. Deebo Samuel, however, wide receiver for the 49ers, had 1,400 yards, 6 touchdowns, 59 carries, 365 yards, 8 touchdowns on the ground. What's next in 2022 for Deebo?
Well, he still hasn't signed his contract, correct?
No, so we don't really know if he's going to be a
49er. He might not even play at all. I mean, he might just hold out because the 49ers aren't going to want to let him go.
Yeah.
Which I don't blame them for. So I could see him holding out too. But if he does play, he'll be even better than he was last year. I think he doesn't want to be a running back, though. I mean, he's made that clear. He doesn't want to be. He wants to be paid like a receiver. Because of the market for receivers is way higher than it is for running backs.
Buku after this year.
Yeah, it went crazy. So I get why he wants to. And plus, his body would probably hold up better as a receiver over the years than running backs are out of the league usually after 8 or 9 years.
3 years, if that, you know what I mean? If you're not a big
usually,
name,
yeah, that's true. Like, if you're disposable, they'll get rid of you quicker than you can even blink.
Because you said it earlier, running backs are a dime a dozen.
Oh, they are. Yeah, I mean, I can really only think of a couple guys that I'm like, okay, I'd keep, like Derrick Henry. Like, there's not really a lot of Derrick Henrys out there.
Mm-hmm. There's not a lot of Jonathan Taylors who are so two-way. Cordell Patterson is a little bit of
even guys
anomaly.
that you used to think weren't disposable, like Melvin Gordon when he was with the Chargers. You're thinking, he's a top running back. Then you brought him to the Broncos, and you're like, he didn't really do much. Same thing with Philip Lindsay. Philip Lindsay had that one great year with the Broncos. Like, he was insane. And then he went to the Texans, and you're like,
What was the Browns running back that was on the cover of Madden? Peyton Hillis?
Peyton Hillis, exactly. I mean, he was a freak, though. Like, that,
he was.
That guy was he kind of did it to himself. He he wasn't very committed to, like, taking care of his body and, like, actually caring about football.
Yeah.
He just was out there for money, really.
When it comes to, like, systems are such a huge part. We talk about chemistry, culture, and stuff, but the system that coaches have in place, is there a certain position, offensively or defensively, that benefits the most from that system? Would it be quarterback, running back, wide receiver? What do you think?
Quarterback, absolutely. Like, if you have good route concepts and schemes drawn up for you, you can take a quarterback that's not very good and make him look average. Or you can take an average quarterback and make him look amazing. I don't know, man.
I'm just kidding.
People argue. I mean, I used to think that when he was with the Patriots. I'm like, it's got to be the scheme. Like, there's no way he's that good. And then you put him on the Bucks, and I'm like, okay, yeah, he's really
He's
good.
really good, man.
Yeah.
I was definitely just joking right there. We do got to take a timeout. We'll come back with our high school spotlight of the day. Thank you guys for riding with the Afternoon Underdogs. We'll be right back.
Weather in Northwest Florida can change on a dime.
Gale force winds bombarded with heavy rain.
That's why 104.3 ESPN Northwest Florida has the most up-to-date forecast on the Gulf Coast. Hi, this is staff meteorologist Tim Root with over 40 years of experience. I know just how fast we can go from sun and fun to a serious situation. For the most accurate and detailed weather when it matters, rely on 104.3 ESPN Northwest Florida.
Hear that? That's the plumpest, juiciest hot dogs you've ever seen getting their grill on. But we both know what'll make it sound even better. Oh yeah, it's a Pepsi to go with your hot dog. Because when you're chomping on America's favorite meal, relish, mustard, and onions perfectly blending into a crescendo of flavor, there's only one thing that makes everything about that moment better. A cold, refreshing Pepsi. See what I mean? It's like music to my ears. Hot dogs. Better with Pepsi. That's what I like.
You know that sound anywhere. It's the crisp crunch of that first nacho chip. With its perfect cheese to sour cream ratio sitting atop a layer of delicious beans, it's a sip away from perfection. That's what we're looking for. Add a delicious, refreshing Pepsi and we've achieved absolute nacho nirvana. Because while you can pile those nachos high with every spicy, cheesy, savory topping, there's no topping a cool Pepsi finish. Nachos, better with Pepsi. That's what I like.
Safety is a hot topic, and Emerald Coast Damsel has a variety of local services to educate your employees and beyond. They host realtor safety and warrior workshops and empower hours. You can book them for graduation, bachelorette parties, or other events. Plus, they provide products to keep your kids safe, like storybooks and board games. Give the gift of self-protection and contact Michelle and Rick today, 850-358-2810, or visit their website at emeraldcoastdamsel.com. Independent Damsel Pro for Damsel in Defense.
Hi, this is Coach James Hale. Keeping your car looking great is easy as 1, 2, 3 at Blue Sky Express Car Wash. By joining their monthly wash club, you'll get the best bang for your buck. In just 2 car washes, your monthly membership pays for itself, starting at only $19.99 a month. What are you waiting for? Become a member today at Blue Sky Express Car Wash on Back Beach Road next to Home Depot. Tell them Coach Hale sent you.
Live from the Rib Crib Studio. We are live and local. From Camp Helen State Park to the historic Martin Theater.
Definitely time to let our hair down and have some fun.
It's the Afternoon Underdogs. 104.3 ESPN Northwest Florida.
This is our local high school spotlight. Want to remind you guys about the 4th of July. Salute to Freedom. Lots of fun for kids. Live music and a parade. The headliner is going to be Dozzy fireworks display at 9:30 over the beautiful St. Andrews Bay. And it's also sponsored by Destination PC, the City of Panama City, and 104.3 ESPN Northwest Florida. That's us. Bay alum is building rapport as a walk-on for Florida State. I'm talking about C.J. Campbell Jr., who redshirted for the Seminoles in 2021. He was named FSU's Offense Scout Team Player of the Year. Austin, how big is the scout team, the practice squad? How important are those to the conduciveness of success for your squad?
You have to have a good scout team. Like, people don't realize how underrated that is. Like my sophomore year when I redshirted, I played in the scout team obviously because redshirts, that's where you bring them.
Mm-hmm.
And that scout team we had that year was incredible. Like, we had guys that literally every guy that was, because we have a depth chart for scout team too. Like, you don't, it's not even like a guarantee. Like, I mean, if
you might not even make scout team.
If you're a bad football, the guys who are not starting on scout team usually leave because they realize, I mean, college football, I'm just not good enough. It's just ain't for me. But like you want your scout team to be better than the defense you're playing that week. And there was times that year where our defense shut down the offense completely in a practice. And there was, like, one of the funniest times that I ever had was in the middle of practice. I think we were probably like 2 team periods in, and the offense had not gotten a single first down. Our starting offense had not gotten a single first down on our scout team defense. That day, I had a great day. I had like I had a pick six. I had like another interception on top of that. Sacks. I mean, everybody was playing like crazy out of our minds.
Yeah, it's like Coach was like, wait, is
our
this
head
D1
coach,
right here?
he shut practice off. Like, he literally stopped in the middle of practice, told the scout team to go get water, and he put the offense on the line and made them run sprints for like 30 minutes because he was so upset that they just could not beat us that he was like, I don't know what else to do. We're just going to condition you. And we all just sat there drinking water, watching them run like, look what we did, guys. Like,
and that's got to be a good feeling. So I guess my question to piggyback off of that, if you will, is what goes into putting that scout team together for the certain week that you're heading into?
Yeah, like at Waldorf, what I really like, they found
30 seconds, sorry.
I'll make it quick. At Waldorf, they knew it was really important to have scout teams, so we had scout team meetings before practice, and we would watch film of the defense that we needed to pretend to be like, and then we would obviously take our better players on scout team and put them out wherever their stars are, and then we basically just watched film and pretended to be that defense that we're playing that week.
Well, I know if you got any time for the rest of the week, tomorrow, Thursday, any day that you want to stop in, man, we'd love it. We got to go. We'll be back tomorrow. Coach James Hill Show live at 7. We'll be back tomorrow at 4 p.m.
104.3 ESPN Northwest Florida. This is Braves country.
This one's going supersonic.
The